addition to all of that, you're a small business owner, right? So when it comes to running a small business, there's always kinds of challenges that we run into. And so as we transition into that part of our show, we're going to talk a little bit about the sigmoid curve.
Okay.
And I'll walk you through the sigmoid curve. We'll figure out where you are in the curve, right? And then we'll have a little discussion about, where is it, what is it you think we might be able to get in some movement, right?
Sure,
Moving in your business, right?
Thank you.
All right, so there's 3 phases, right? The first phase in the sigmoid curve, and everything, whether it's a business or life, everything else goes through this cycle. So the first one is the learning phase, right? And there's some different traps that we have to be careful of in each one of these phases. There's 2 of them in the learning phase. The second one is the growth phase, and the last one is the decline phase, right? So if we take a look at the learning phase, the trap that we will have to watch out for first is the honeymoon trap, because a lot of cases people have some initial early success, and they'll not, they'll go spend that money, right? And that doesn't mean that they figured it all out and that they have their marketing systems in place. In fact, the biggest example of excess in this case is in the dot-com explosion, where people collecting millions of dollars from venture capitalists, and they would have these lavish parties in Las Vegas, and then 3 months, 4 months later, they were just gone. They were done because they hadn't really figured out what their business model was. So the second one is the 3 feet from gold phase. And in many ways, I think you've gone through both of these particular phases. 3 feet from gold is where you're working hard, you're getting closer, you've had some success. And the key to the 3 feet from gold phase is to never give up, right? If you give up and you move off, right, you never know where that next step, where the next thing was. And it takes a lot of time and energy to get to the 3 feet from gold phase in the first place.
Right.
And if you keep shifting, then you never get to be an expert. You never get to be able to command the marketplace.
Right.
So you have to just keep working through the 3 feet from gold phase. The founder's trap is usually when you've got some consistent revenues, consistent profit, right? But now the question becomes, how do I scale, right? As an individual and a business owner, and I work with a lot of clients that are in this particular trap, they really don't know how to move to systems and processes that will allow them to, keep track of 80 to 90% of what they've got going on without necessarily having to do it themselves, right? So we want to put some systems and processes in place. Ultimately, we take a look at this thing called the Midas trap, and King Midas turned everything to gold, right?
Right.
And some people, their business is just going. It's very successful, and the key is to not take your eye off the ball. And if you don't have a system and a process in place to keep your eye on the ball all the time, you can get into some pretty big trouble. And if you think about it, you've got recent examples like Blockbuster or Blockbuster Video or Circuit City, both of which aren't available to us anymore, right?
Right.
So they really didn't keep their eye on the ball too well.
Right.
And then ultimately we have this thing called the denial trap. And this is where you can see on this curve where it's already started heading down, right? So realistically, as soon as the growth curve starts to shift to something less, right? That's when we need to be aware of. And we have the opportunity at that point to maybe do something else. But we get people that say, everything's fine. It's not a big deal. It's fine. We're going to get there, right? And what happens is it just continues to crash and crash and crash until it's all the way gone. And if you think about that, the most glaring example is RIM products with the BlackBerry phones. Right. So they were top of the world. Everybody had a BlackBerry phone for the longest period of time. And then Apple came along and all the other ones came along. They said, it's going to be fine. And now I think RIM has, some really tiny market share in that particular case. But the key to all of this, right, is at that top, right, is we have the ability then to actually turn that into the opportunity phase. So as long as we're not losing sight of the ball in the Midas trap, we have the ability to create opportunity. And that curve going up looks a little bit like the curve down at the bottom where we've got 3 feet from gold turning up to the founder's trap. So for you, where do you see yourself on this curve?
I think I'm between the founder's trap and the growth phase.
Founder's trap. So at the bottom end of the growth phase where the founder's trap is. And so we talk about scaling and systems and models and processes.
Exactly.
Right? So